as we thank our Heavenly Father for this opportunity this evening to reunite once again the United States Law Enforcement Coalition, our young intern students, their parents, all of our board members, and our special guest, Johnny Page from Department of Homeland Security and Preparedness. And we thank you for continuing to network us together for the betterment of our families, our communities, and our society in general. And all this we ask through your name. Amen. Kindly be seated. Before I start the program, I just want to not only welcome, but I want to give a farewell as well to our board member, Johnny Son, who right now needs to leave us because he's en route to Seoul, Korea, and then to Hong Kong, and a couple all stops for business. But at this time, welcome, John. And John, if you could please come forward and I just want to give you a commendation for what you do for this organization, your overwhelming support. He always brought his two daughters with him. His wife has been here for meetings in the past. And John, we appreciate your overwhelming support to this organization and what you do. And have a safe trip to Seoul. And if you need somebody to carry your luggage in the future, you just ask me and I'll certainly accompany you anywhere you go. Thank you, John. Want to say a few things, John?
Yeah. Thank you, Bob.
No problem.
Yeah. I'm starting this organization with Daniel Song about 2 years ago. I'm a board member, and I just want to say hello, you guys, and greeting to you guys, and I want to see our students, and this program's grown up, and I'm. And I have to leave tonight to Seoul and the business trip in China, Hong Kong, and it's a businessman, so, and goodbye. Okay?
Johnny, thank you once again. We don't feel sorry for you because we all would like to go along with you, but we know you got business to tend to. But thank you once again for all your support. Have a safe trip, wonderful trip. Thank you, John. Well, good evening once again, everybody. I think most of you are aware, but this is our monthly meeting where we gather here now at the DoubleTree Hotel here in Fort Lee. And I want to thank the management, the staff, and our food caterer for all the festivities that you give us in these beautiful meeting rooms. This is a brand new room that was just renovated. So we thank the staff and management here at the DoubleTree. And we also thank our board members, and if I can ask our board members to please stand and be recognized, because if it wasn't for your presence and your support of this organization, this internship program would never be what it is today. So thank you very much, gentlemen. Ladies. Okay, well, tonight we have another gathering of our student interns. I thought there was like 10 or 12. It looks like many more here, unless some of the parents are getting younger looking and they look like students. But I want to thank our young students for continuing to be part of this internship program. Tonight we will have the pleasure of hearing from two of our young students as they give their presentations. I think their parents are here. At least I did see both of them at one point in time. So the pressure is on our young students to do a great job tonight. But before we get on to the presentations, I just want to introduce our special guest of ours that is here tonight. And my special guest, your special guest, our special guest, is a guy named John Page. John Page, to my left, your right, depending on where you're sitting, is a good friend of mine for many years, probably over 20 years, but John Page used to be a supervisory special agent with the Federal Bureau of Investigation, or the FBI, here in New Jersey. Spent many years there doing his time as a federal agent, but now is a detective assigned to the New Jersey Department of Homeland Security and Preparedness here in New Jersey. And there's a lot of wealth of information that John knows. He is a networker, not only for the betterment of communities, community by community, whether it be across the United States or specifically here in New Jersey, but he has touched the lives of many different groups of many different backgrounds. I've been privileged to be John's friend for many years, and every place that I've been to, or at least some of them, my good friend Johnny Page would be there presenting himself, his organization, doing what's right to extend the government, whether it be law enforcement or the governments that he represents and protects being a part of this network of people and association and friendship. So at this time, please give your attention to Johnny Page, my good friend, and if there's any questions and answers after he is finished, please feel free to ask, because Johnny, I know, is not shy to answer them. So at this time, Johnny Page.
Thank you very much for having me. I did meet the chief in 1999, and I learned that some people might be interested in going to university in New York City. I was very honored to grow up in a place called Greenwich Village in New York City, near NYU. Sadly, I know my grades were nowhere near the grades of some of the young men and women here. But I was honored. I went to Pace University. It's right at Brooklyn Bridge in New York. The high school I went to New York, sadly, out of 5,000 people, only about 30 students in each grade could read and write and English at the 8th, 9th, or 10th, or 11th grade level. Fortunately, I was one of those people. But when I went to college, I was at a disadvantage because I never wrote a term paper in 4 years of high school. I never did any research. So my first 2 years at Pace, I met people that had done term papers since they were in the 6th grade and made presentations like you're doing tonight. So it took me a couple of years to catch up. So I hate to admit, but if it was a 4-point system for university, the 4 being an A, I was a solid C. It's about a 2.23 grade point average. I went to Pace. I majored in accounting and economics and finance, but because of my 2.2 grade point average, and because I did something which I probably shouldn't have done, I convinced my children they should be interns in whatever profession that they chose. But I decided it would be better for me to be a New York State lifeguard. So I was a New York State lifeguard during high school and college for 7 years. So when I was interviewed for positions, they would say, well, what type of accounting or economics or finance you did? And the best I could say is I kept counting the people in the water to make sure they were safe and still there, so not so good. I'm bringing this up because there's some young people here, I know they're getting ready to college, but I didn't despair. I went to work as a paralegal. I drove a cab in New York, a taxi cab for a while when I needed to work. I was a doorman at night for a while, and we don't have that now too much, but at the time you could apply for a job in the New York Times. And so I saw a job in the New York Times in New Jersey. It was for an accountant to work for the most hated agency in America. Anybody know what that agency is? The most hated agency is the Internal Revenue Service, the people that collect our taxes. So I applied for that agency, and I thought, nah, there's no way they're ever going to hire me. But they did, and I worked there for about 6 years. And as I worked there, I met FBI agents. And I said, it looks to me as though maybe I can do the same thing as the FBI agents could. So luckily in 1980, I became an FBI agent. And at the time, it's I think much different now, but at the time people were afraid to work in New York or New Jersey. They thought New Jersey was some evil place where you couldn't work. And for me, I thought it was a pretty nice location. I love New Jersey. I think what happened is a lot of people read about cities like Camden, sometimes in Trenton and Patterson and Passaic and Newark, and they read about the crime. Then they fly into Newark Airport and they see all the refineries. So they think all the state is made up of those refineries. In any event, I got to spend my entire FBI career in New Jersey, all of the 26 and a half years I had with the FBI. Now, when I first got hired, I applied to 69th Street in New York, and you could stay an FBI agent until you were in your 90s if your brain still worked. Now they think your brain starts to stop working at 55 or 57, so they throw you out at those ages saying, we no longer want you in the capacity of being an FBI agent. I wanted to stay in law enforcement, so New Jersey is one of the few states that has their own Office of Homeland Security and Preparedness. I'm one of their detectives. Just to go back a minute, I did meet the chief in 1999 when my last assignment was overseeing the northern counties of New Jersey as a supervisor. I see young people here. I see lots of possible future FBI agents, men and women. At least I'd hope you consider that. The good news about joining the FBI is They want you to have 4 years of a college degree for sure, which I know all the young men and women want here. It doesn't only have to be in accounting or law. As a matter of fact, they're looking for people that are chemists and pharmacists and engineers, but certainly attorneys and accountants also. And certainly somebody, if you have a second language, that certainly even makes you more valuable. So if you haven't considered that, I'd ask you to consider that, whether it's local or county or the federal government. But besides the FBI, there's 29 other federal agencies that hire something they call a special agent. So if it was me and you're one of my children, I would tell you, you want to apply if you're interested in that area in the special agent position. And just for fun, you should look at USA.gov, and it's called Title 1811. Most of them want 3 years of experience after university, but please, it's something to consider. Sadly, where I was a supervisor in the FBI, in Patterson and before, both times we had operatives come to our country and stay in New Jersey before they attacked the World Trade Centers, both different times. The first set of operatives is the true operatives, because they went back, as you recall, went back to get the deposit on the U-Haul truck after they bombed the World Trade Center. And we kind of got spoiled because the FBI, and along with, they call something a Joint Terrorism Task Force, which means they have people from all different agencies and local police working with the FBI. The first World Trade Center, within about 12 hours, they identified the people, and one person was headed to Egypt. And before he even got off the plane, they let the Egyptian police know, and he was arrested right away. So I think as a country, we got naive and spoiled and thought there's no way anything can happen to us again, and we got a little lax. I left the FBI at about 55 and a half because I knew in about a year and a half they would give you a letter saying, doesn't matter how smart you are or the expertise you have, 57 is the end of the story for you in that position. So the state of New Jersey, as I said, is one of the few states that has its own Office of Homeland Security and Preparedness. We have two sides of the house. We have one that does preparedness for attack on maybe coliseums or stadiums or schools, and we have another side that has the detectives, of which I'm one, that works with the Joint Terrorism Task Force. The FBI has all the clearances. But I have a special honor. I have the honor of traveling around the 21 counties and visiting places of worship. So if you didn't know, we have about 13 Sikh temples in New Jersey, and we started with the Sikh temples first. We spent I've been there 12 years. We pretty much spent the first 6 years trying to make sure as best we could that our stadiums were safe, our movie theaters were more safe, that Giant Stadium was prepared adequately, that our infrastructure was protected, but we really forgot to worry about the places of worship. So about 6 years ago now in Wisconsin, if you remember, there was an attack at a Sikh temple, and so we decided, what can we do to make places of worship more secure? So we started about 6 years ago, and we're using the theory of using ushers and greeters. I don't know if you have ushers and greeters at your places of worship, but we want to use them as our first defense to keep our places of worship safe. So we've trained the 13 Gurdwaras in our state, the Sikh temples. There's about 115 mosques in our state. There's 28 Coptic Christian temples, about 28 Greek Orthodox and Russian Orthodox. And altogether, there's about 16,000 places of worship in our state that we're trying to make secure, amongst other things. I want to give you one example that impacts Bergen County. About 3 years ago, I think the chief would remember. Two young men, one happened to be from India. I don't know what religion he was or what he believed. Another one had an Italian last name. They both were at least originally from Lodi. They tried to burn down 3 of our Jewish synagogues in this part of New Jersey. The first time they tried, they failed, and the place of worship had a video camera, but they forgot to turn it on. The second time, they failed, and the place of worship, the shul did have a video camera, but sometimes they record over themselves so many times that you can't get any good picture. The third time, they had cameras every place except the back of the place where they tried to start it on fire. And the fourth time in Rutherford, they threw what they call a Molotov cocktail, a glass bottle with gas and a rag in it. 4 of them they threw at the rabbi's home in his bedroom, which caught on fire. Fortunately, the rabbi and his children were fine, and not tremendous work necessarily by the FBI where he used to work. They helped a little, or my agency, but tremendous work by the local police, the Rutherford police, the Bergen County Police, the Middlesex County Police. They catch these young men, and if you've read the paper, they've been sentenced almost to 40 years in prison when they're only 18 to 20 years old. So our real goal in our country should be, if we notice something and observe that ahead of time, we need to report it, suspicious activity, to 911, your local police, so they can check it if it's anything. And we have some other numbers you can use in New Jersey, 211 or 1866 New Jersey. Or if you're a little bashful, you can work with some of the elders of the group here and report that to them ahead of time. I think we know what just happened in Florida about 2 weeks ago. I can tell you in our state there's been 286 different schools have gotten social media or call in contact saying somebody's going to cause harm in our schools in New Jersey. So that ties up the policemen dramatically because they have to address that every single second. I wanted to talk just about one more example and then a few other things and then convince you. The reason I brought up the story of my life is not to bore you with the story of my life, but tell you don't do what I did. And I want to make sure that you take part in internships in the profession you're interested in. I think mentoring programs are very good. And I don't think there's any better thing you can get than at least a 4-year college degree in your choice and try to be the best that you can be at whatever you can be. I request you don't do what I did in intern as a lifeguard when you're working on an accounting degree. But if you're interested in computer science or medicine or the rest, that's very important. We do have some internships in our office in New Jersey. You have to go to our website, njohsp.gov. I know the FBI has some. You just have to look. We have an office in Newark and down by Hamilton. And so if you're interested when the time comes in college to do that, we'd love to have you consider. I want to just give you one more example, if I may, of reporting suspicious activity. In Texas, about 1.5 years ago, some white supremacists went to a Jewish complex and tried to shoot some people. The night before, this white supremacist called the rabbi in New Jersey. The rabbi knew his name. He was down by the Jersey Shore. They discussed things. The rabbi eventually hung up the phone after he spoke to him for about an hour. But the rabbi never called up to say that was suspicious activity and that a white supremacist had called him to any law enforcement. The next day, this person happened to have been in Texas and he killed 3 or 4 people. Now the rabbi, once he saw that in the news, the next day called up and said, "I'm sorry, I'm guilty, I should have called, I feel awful." Because with today's technology, the rabbi had caller ID on his phone, so he saw the cell phone number or phone number. If he called up and if we were lucky, we could have determined that the cell phone number was emanating out of Texas and the tower out of Texas, and we could have let the local police know, at least to be on the lookout for this white supremacist. So this rabbi feels guilty. I appreciate his honesty, but he feels guilty for not trying to help catch that needle in the haystack. I guess I want to say, at least for me, and I think the chief, and I hope for some of the young men and women here, there was no better job for me than federal law enforcement and the FBI. Certainly the state is very good, but the FBI will always be in my heart. But even if I could not have succeeded or been hired in any one of those places, our local police in Bergen County and our sheriffs and our prosecutor's office have tremendous opportunity for our young men and women. And so I'd ask you to consider that. I mentioned that one of the men here that I know we have tiger moms and dads in the room that just like I am too, that want our sons and daughters to be doctors and engineers and pharmacists and chemists. But it's also and accountants, but it's also good to maybe experience in some of these other areas. So I leave you with that and say, please, if you have any questions, but please, if you have a major, don't be a lifeguard and do something different, intern in that major. And please remember, no matter what your score is on the SAT, that you can get a bachelor's degree and end up a master's degree just by trying as hard as you can to succeed. So that's about all I have, unless you have some questions, and I thank you certainly for the opportunity to let me speak at you. Somebody promised me, I spent a lot of time with some of these young ladies to make sure that they would ask me a question before we started, but if anybody has a question, it'd be my honor to answer. I left my business card in the front, should if anybody be interested in federal law enforcement or state or local enforcement. You certainly have the chief and myself, and we'd be glad to assist if you're interested in that. And at least it's, in my view, a very honorable profession. I know we have some people that are juniors and seniors and sophomores and freshmen in high school here, and I just have one recommendation to consider. I think a degree in criminal justice is wonderful, but I think maybe that should be a minor or a secondary degree. I think a degree in music, in education, in marketing, in finance, in accounting, in law, in chemistry, in pharmacy is much more marketable, and I'll tell you why. If you should be injured and you have a degree in criminal justice, you might not be able to participate in the FBI Academy or the local police academy. And so if you had a degree in that other area, you would have something else to fall back on. I say this, and I have a bachelor's in accounting and economics and finance, but my master's in criminal justice from John Jay. So if I had to do it over, I would have probably tried to get an MBA or get a law degree after my bachelor's, knowing that if you go to any police academy, you get what's equal to a master's degree in criminal justice. I know that one of your members can speak to that. So Chief, unless there's anything else, if there's questions, I'd love to answer them. If you're bashful, please call me on my business card afterwards at any time. Just remind me when you send an email or call me that we met at this meeting, and then whatever time you need, it would be my honor to spend with you. No question? Who shall I introduce first? Is next in line to speak? Chief.
Thank you, John. These students, they need a little bit of time to warm up, so understand the questions are coming because we're going to be passing this microphone around student to student and parent to parent, so you'll be ready as well. But Johnny Page, thank you so much, and like I said, Johnny Page and I go back many years. He's been serving with the FBI and now with the Department of Homeland Security, and his passion is to make safe each and every one of our communities. And his passion is to bring everybody together. Doesn't matter what race, what color, what religion. What matters is that you all have the freedoms to live in society, grow your families, have a prosperous business, prosperous career. Whatever you want to do here in our United States of America, you are safe because of people like John Page. And we're so happy that he's not only here in New Jersey, but he is coming to our meeting, our dinner meeting with our interns to spread a little bit of his goodwill and faith and expertise. So please continue to think about maybe some questions to ask John or myself or anybody in this room, because from here on in, you got a friend in Johnny Page, and understand that's a real good friend to have in your corner. But at this time, I'm going to ask our students to give their presentations. Basically, for most